I thought hiring a fake girlfriend would solve my problems. Instead, she walked into my life and refused to leave. When my high school reunion invitation arrived with a +1, I panicked and asked a near stranger to play the role. But Lena Hayes didn't just pretend. She saw right through me, challenged everything I thought I knew about moving on, and turned one desperate lie into something I wasn't ready for. The truth. If you want to see where this story takes us, through every mistake, every revelation, every moment I thought I'd lost my chance, stay with me until the end. And when you're done, hit like and drop a comment with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story can travel. Now let me take you back to where it all started, the moment I made the worst decision of my life. Ryan Carter stood in the break room, staring at the cream-colored envelope like it might catch fire if he looked away. The embossed lettering across the front read, Highland Heights Class of 2010, 15-year reunion. His name sat beneath it in gold script, mocking him. He'd been holding it for 3 minutes, long enough that his coffee had gone cold. You gonna open that, or keep giving it the death stare? Ryan looked up. Marcus Lynn leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, grinning in that infuriating way he had when he knew he'd caught Ryan off guard. It's junk mail, Ryan muttered, shoving the envelope into his jacket pocket. Right. Junk mail with your name hand calligraphied on the front. Marcus stepped in, grabbed the coffee pot, and poured himself a cup. Let me guess. High school reunion? Ryan didn't answer. Dude, just don't go. Easy. I'm not going. Then why do you look like someone just told you your dog died? Ryan exhaled slowly. I don't have a dog. Metaphorically, man. Metaphorically. Marcus leaned back against the counter. So what's the issue? You hate those people or something? I don't hate them. Ryan grabbed his mug, dumped the cold coffee into the sink. I just don't need to spend an evening explaining my life to people who haven't thought about me in 15 years. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Or you don't want to show up alone. Ryan's jaw tightened. Bingo, Marcus laughed. Look, I get it. You're a single dad, you work too much, you haven't been on a date since, what, the Obama administration? Just skip it. Save yourself the misery. I wasn't planning on going. Good. Problem solved. Marcus headed for the door, then paused. Unless you actually want to go and you're just too stubborn to admit it. Ryan said nothing. Marcus shook his head, still grinning. You're impossible, man. When the door swung shut, Ryan pulled the envelope back out. He stared at it for another long moment, then tore it open. The invitation was worse than he'd imagined. Glossy cardstock, a photo collage of their graduating class, smiling faces frozen in a time when everything still felt possible. And at the bottom, in cheerful serif font, bring a guest. We can't wait to see who you've become. Ryan crumpled it in his fist. He didn't think about it again until 2 weeks later, when Eli asked him a question that stopped him cold. They were sitting at the kitchen table, Eli working through his math homework while Ryan reviewed a spreadsheet on his laptop. It was a Tuesday night, unremarkable in every way except for the fact that Eli had been unusually quiet. Dad? Yeah, bud. Do you ever think about Mom? Ryan's fingers froze over the keyboard. He looked up slowly. Eli wasn't looking at him. He was staring down at his worksheet, pencil hovering over a half-finished equation. Sometimes, Ryan said carefully. Why? Eli shrugged. I don't know. There's this thing at school, family tree project, and I don't really remember her that much. Ryan's chest tightened. Eli had been 5 when Claire died, 7 years ago now. Long enough that the grief had dulled into something quieter, something manageable. But moments like this, they still hit like a punch. You don't have to remember everything, Ryan said. That's okay. I know. Eli finally looked up. But do you remember? Yeah, I do. Eli nodded, then went back to his homework. The conversation was over as quickly as it had started, but Ryan sat there for a long time afterward, staring at nothing, feeling the weight of all the things he couldn't say. Claire had been gone for 7 years, and in all that time Ryan hadn't gone on a single date. Hadn't even considered it, not because he was still mourning, though some part of him probably always would be, but because the idea of letting someone new into his life felt impossible. Dangerous even. And yet, the reunion invitation was still sitting on his desk upstairs. He'd meant to throw it away. He should have thrown it away. Instead, he found himself reading it again that night, after Eli had gone to bed. Bring a guest. It was such a small thing. 2 words. But they'd burrowed under his skin in a way he couldn't explain. Because the truth was, Ryan didn't want to show up alone. Not because he cared what those people thought. He didn't. But because walking into that room by himself felt like admitting something he wasn't ready to admit, that he was stuck. That his life had frozen the day Claire died and he'd never figured out how to thaw it. Which was stupid. He knew that. His life wasn't frozen. He had Eli. He had work. He had routines and responsibilities and a handful of friendships that mostly consisted of Marcus giving him a hard time in the break room. But still, he wanted to walk into that reunion and prove, to himself if no one else, that he was okay, that he'd moved forward, even if it was a lie. The idea came to him 3 days later during a budget meeting that was so mind-numbingly boring he'd stopped listening halfway through. Lena Hayes sat 2 seats down, reviewing a report with her usual intensity. She was new to the company, had joined the marketing team about 6 months ago, and Ryan didn't know much about her beyond the fact that she was sharp, confident, and completely unbothered by the casual condescension that came with being the youngest person in most meetings. He'd noticed her, of course. It was hard not to. She had this way of carrying herself, like she knew exactly who she was and didn't feel the need to apologize for it. Dark hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, minimal makeup, clothes that were professional without trying too hard. She wasn't flashy, but she didn't need to be. And she was smart, really smart. The kind of smart that made people uncomfortable because she didn't bother hiding it. Ryan respected that, but he'd never actually spoken to her outside of work. They existed in different orbits. She was early career ambitious, probably had a dozen things going on outside the office. He was a 32-year-old single dad who went home every night at 5:30 to make dinner and help with homework. Still, the thought lodged itself in his brain and refused to leave. What if I asked her? It was insane, completely insane, but also not impossible. She didn't know him well enough to ask questions. She was poised enough to pull off the role without breaking a sweat. And if he framed it right, casually, as a favor, nothing serious, she might actually say yes. Or she might think he was out of his mind and report him to HR. 50-50 odds. He waited until Friday, late afternoon, when most people had already started packing up for the weekend. Lena was still at her desk, typing away on her laptop with the kind of focus that suggested she had no intention of leaving anytime soon. Ryan stood outside her cubicle for a solid 30 seconds, rehearsing what he was going to say. Then he gave up on rehearsing and just walked in. "Hey." Lena looked up surprised. "Oh, hi. Sorry to interrupt. You have a minute?" She glanced at her screen, then back at him. "Sure, what's up?" Ryan suddenly regretted every decision that had led him to this moment. "This is going to sound weird," he started. "Okay. And if you want to say no, that's completely fine. I won't be offended." Lena leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, one eyebrow raised. "You're kind of freaking me out, Ryan," he exhaled. "Right. Okay. Here's the thing. I have this high school reunion coming up in 2 weeks, and I really don't want to go alone, so I was wondering if you'd be willing to come with me, as a favor, just for the night." Lena blinked. "Like, as your date?" "No, I mean, yes, technically, but not a real date, just, someone to stand next to me so I don't look like a complete loser." There was a beat of silence. Then Lena laughed. Not a polite laugh, a real one. "You're serious?" "Unfortunately." She studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she said, "Why me?" Ryan hadn't expected that question. "I don't know. You seem like someone who could handle it." "Handle what?" "A room full of people who peaked in high school and are desperately trying to convince each other they're still relevant." Lena's mouth twitched. "That's a pretty cynical take. You haven't met these people." "Fair." She tapped her fingers against the armrest of her chair, thinking, "What's in it for me?" Ryan blinked. "What?" "If I'm going to spend an evening pretending to be your girlfriend, I want something in return." He hadn't thought that far ahead. I'll buy you dinner?" "Pass. I can buy my own dinner." "Okay. Then what do you want?" Lena tilted her head, considering. I'll think about it. But yeah, I'll do it. Ryan stared at her. Seriously? Why not? Sounds like it could be entertaining. She turned back to her laptop, already dismissing him. Just send me the details. Ryan stood there for another second, trying to process what had just happened. Thanks, he said finally. Don't thank me yet, Lena said without looking up. You haven't seen me in action. So, Ryan told himself it was a mistake. Over and over again, in the 2 weeks leading up to the reunion, he told himself he should cancel. Call Lena, apologize, say he'd changed his mind. But he didn't. Instead, he found himself standing outside her apartment building on a Saturday evening, wearing a suit he hadn't touched in 3 years and feeling like an idiot. He was about to text her when the door opened and Lena stepped out. Ryan forgot how to breathe. She was wearing a black dress. Simple, elegant, nothing over the top, but it was the way she carried herself that made him stare. Confident, comfortable, like she'd done this 1,000 times before. You gonna say something or just stand there? Lena asked, smirking. You look great, Ryan said quickly. I know. She walked past him toward his car. Come on, let's get this over with. Oh, the reunion was being held at a hotel ballroom downtown, the same hotel where they'd had prom, which Ryan found depressing in a way he couldn't quite articulate. As they walked through the doors, Lena slipped her hand into his. Ryan flinched. Relax, she murmured. We're supposed to be dating, remember? Right, yeah. He tried to relax, failed miserably. The ballroom was exactly as he'd imagined. Too bright, too loud, too full of people who all seemed thrilled to be there. A banner hung across the back wall. Welcome back, class of 2010. Ryan wanted to leave immediately. Deep breath, Lena said, squeezing his hand. You've got this. He didn't feel like he had this, but before he could say so, someone called his name. Ryan Carter! Holy shit, is that you? Ryan turned. It took him a second to place the face. Brian something. They'd had chemistry together junior year. Hey, Brian! Man, it's been forever. How have you been? Brian's eyes flicked to Lena, then back to Ryan. And who's this? Lena extended her free hand, smiling warmly. Lena Hayes, Ryan's girlfriend. The word girlfriend hung in the air like a challenge. Brian shook her hand, clearly impressed. Wow, nice to meet you, Lena. Ryan, you've been holding out on us. Ryan forced a smile. Yeah, I guess. We've got to catch up. Come grab a drink with me. Before Ryan could protest, Brian was steering them toward the bar. And just like that, the night began. It turned out Lena was a natural. She charmed everyone they talked to, answered their questions with just enough detail to sound genuine without oversharing, laughed at their jokes, asked follow-up questions that made people feel interesting. She even managed to make Ryan sound impressive, spinning his job into something that sounded way more exciting than it actually was. And the crazy thing was, she seemed to be enjoying herself. Ryan, meanwhile, felt like he was drowning. Every conversation reminded him of something he'd tried to forget. The way people looked at him when they asked about Claire, pity mixed with curiosity. The subtle judgment when he mentioned Eli, as if being a single dad made him less than. The unspoken question hanging over every interaction, what happened to you? He'd been the guy with potential once, the kid who was going places. And now he was just Ryan, a guy who worked in finance and went home to help his son with homework. It shouldn't have bothered him, but it did. You okay? Ryan looked down. Lena was watching him, concern flickering across her face. Yeah, fine. You don't look fine. I'm just tired. Lena didn't buy it, but before she could push, someone else appeared, a woman with blonde hair and a smile that made Ryan's stomach drop. Ryan? He knew that voice. Vanessa Miller, his ex-girlfriend, the one who dumped him 3 months after Claire died because she couldn't handle the baggage. She looked exactly the same. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect everything. Oh my God, I can't believe it's you. Vanessa pulled him into a hug he didn't return. When she stepped back, her eyes landed on Lena. And who's this? Lena said coolly. Ryan's girlfriend. Vanessa's smile faltered for just a second. Oh, that's great. I'm so happy for you, Ryan. She didn't sound happy. Thanks, Ryan said. An awkward silence descended. Well, Vanessa said brightly. I should go find my husband, but we should catch up later. She disappeared into the crowd before Ryan could respond. Lena watched her go, then turned to Ryan. Ex? Yeah. She sucks. Ryan laughed despite himself. Yeah, she does. Right. They stayed for another hour. By the time they left, Ryan's face hurt from fake smiling, and his head was pounding. But as they walked back to the car, Lena turned to him and said, You did good. I barely survived. Same thing. Ryan unlocked the car, but didn't get in right away. He leaned against the driver's side door, staring up at the night sky. Thanks for doing this, he said quietly. I know it was weird. It wasn't that weird. Lena leaned next to him. Besides, I kind of had fun. Really? Yeah, your classmates are terrible, but in an entertaining way. Ryan smiled. Glad I could provide entertainment. They stood there in silence for a moment. Then Lena said, Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you really want to go tonight? Ryan hesitated. I don't know. I guess I wanted to prove something. To who? To myself, maybe. That I'm not stuck. Lena looked at him. You're not stuck, Ryan. How do you know? Because stuck people don't ask strangers to fake date them. She smiled. They just stay home and feel sorry for themselves. Ryan didn't know what to say to that. Come on, Lena said, opening the passenger door. Let's get out of here. He dropped her off at her apartment 20 minutes later. As she got out of the car, she paused. Hey, Ryan? Yeah? If you ever need a fake girlfriend again, let me know. She grinned. I'm pretty good at it. Ryan laughed. I'll keep that in mind. She shut the door and headed inside. Ryan watched her go, feeling something he couldn't quite name. It wasn't until he was halfway home that he realized what it was. Hope. And that terrified him. Eli was already asleep when Ryan got home. He checked on him anyway, stood in the doorway of his son's room, watching the rise and fall of his chest, feeling the weight of every decision he'd ever made. He'd lied tonight, pretended to be someone he wasn't, and somehow it had worked. But as he turned off the light and closed the door, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Because Lena hadn't just played a role. She'd seen him, really seen him, in a way no one had in years. And worse, he'd liked it. Ryan didn't expect to see Lena again outside of work. The reunion was over, the favor complete, and there was no reason for their paths to cross beyond the occasional budget meeting or passing nod in the hallway. Except Monday morning, she was waiting by his office when he arrived. Morning, she said, leaning against the wall with 2 coffee cups in her hands. Ryan stopped short. Morning. I got you this? She held out one of the cups. Black, right? You seem like a black coffee kind of guy. He took it cautiously. Thanks. What's the occasion? No occasion. Just thought you might need it after Saturday. She smiled. You looked like you were about to pass out by the end of the night. Ryan couldn't tell if she was making fun of him or not. It was a long evening. It was. Lena straightened, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. But I meant what I said. I had fun. Even with Vanessa? Especially with Vanessa. That woman radiates insecurity. It was kind of fascinating. Ryan laughed despite himself. She's not that bad. Ryan, she asked me 3 times what I did for a living and then interrupted me every time I tried to answer. She's exactly that bad. He took a sip of the coffee. It was good. Better than the sludge from the break room. Well, thanks for putting up with her. Anytime. Lena glanced at her watch. I've got a meeting in 10, but hey, if you ever want to grab lunch or something, let me know. I'm still trying to figure out which places around here don't suck. She walked away before Ryan could respond, leaving him standing there with a coffee cup and a vague sense of confusion. Marcus appeared from around the corner, grinning. Did Lena Hayes just bring you coffee? Shut up. Dude, she brought you coffee. Ryan pushed past him into his office. It's not a big deal. It's absolutely a big deal. Marcus followed him in, uninvited. Wait, is something going on with you two? No. Because if there is, you need to tell me immediately. I've been trying to set you up for years and you've shot down every single person I've suggested. But if you're into Lena, I'm not into Lena. Then why did she bring you coffee? I don't know, Marcus. Maybe she's just nice. Marcus snorted. Lena Hayes is a lot of things, But just nice isn't one of them. That woman doesn't do anything without a reason. Ryan sat down at his desk, trying to ignore him. Don't you have work to do? Tons. But this is more interesting. Marcus leaned against the doorframe. Seriously, though, if you like her, you should do something about it. I don't like her. I barely know her. Right, that's why you asked her to be your fake girlfriend. Ryan shot him a look. How do you know about that? Marcus tapped the side of his nose. I know everything. And for the record, I think it's great. You need to get back out there. I'm not looking to get back out there. Yeah, you are. You're just too scared to admit it. Marcus straightened. Look, I'm not saying you have to marry the woman, but maybe don't shut the door before you even see what's on the other side. He left before Ryan could argue. Ryan stared at the coffee cup on his desk. It was still warm. He told himself Marcus was wrong. There was nothing happening here. Lena had done him a favor, and now she was being friendly. That was it. But a small, traitorous part of him wondered if Marcus might be right. Lena didn't bring up lunch again that week. In fact, she barely spoke to him at all. She was in meetings, buried in projects, moving through the office with the kind of focused energy that made it clear she had bigger things to think about than Ryan Carter. Which was fine. Totally fine. Except on Friday, she showed up at his desk at noon with a brown paper bag. You eat lunch, right? She asked. Ryan looked up from his computer. Generally, yeah. Good. Come on. She was already walking toward the elevator. Where are we going? There's a park 2 blocks from here. I found it last week. It's not terrible. Ryan hesitated. He had a report due by end of day, and he'd planned to work through lunch. But Lena was already halfway to the elevator, and something about the casual confidence in her voice made it impossible to say no. He grabbed his jacket and followed. Otet. The park was small, just a few benches scattered around a patch of grass and some sad-looking trees, but it was quiet. Lena sat down on one of the benches and pulled 2 sandwiches out of the bag. I didn't know what you liked, so I got turkey. If you're weird about turkey, you're on your own. Ryan sat down beside her. Turkey's fine. She handed him one of the sandwiches and unwrapped hers. For a few minutes, they ate in silence. It should have been awkward, but somehow it wasn't. So, Lena said eventually, how's your week been? Boring. Yours? Same. A lot of meetings where people talk in circles and never actually decide anything. Ryan smiled. Welcome to corporate life. Is it always like this? Pretty much. Lena took another bite, chewing thoughtfully. That's depressing. You get used to it. I don't want to get used to it. She looked over at him. Don't you ever want to do something different? Ryan considered that. Sometimes, but I've got responsibilities. Can't just walk away because I'm bored. I'm not saying walk away. I'm saying, I don't know. Don't you ever think about what else is out there? Not really. I've got Eli. That's enough. Lena's expression softened. You talk about him a lot. Is that a bad thing? No, it's sweet. She paused. How old is he? 12. That's a good age. Yeah, most of the time. Ryan crumpled up the sandwich wrapper. He's a good kid. Smarter than I was at his age. What's he into? Video games, mostly, and soccer. He's on a team that practices twice a week and somehow always schedules games at the worst possible times. Lena laughed. Sounds exhausting. It is, but it's worth it. They sat quietly for another moment. Then Lena said, Can I ask you something? Sure. Why haven't you dated anyone since your wife died? The question hit harder than Ryan expected. He looked down at his hands. I don't know, just never felt right, I guess. Because you're not over her. No, I mean, I'll never be completely over her, but it's not that. He struggled to find the words. It's more like, I don't know how to let someone in without it being complicated. Eli's been through enough. I don't want to mess him up more by bringing someone into his life who might not stick around. Lena nodded slowly. That makes sense, does it? Yeah, you're protecting him. That's what good parents do. She leaned back against the bench. But, at some point, you're going to have to take a risk. Otherwise, you're just stuck. Ryan looked at her. You sound like Marcus. Marcus is smarter than he looks. Don't tell him that. It'll go to his head. Lena grinned. Then her phone buzzed, and she glanced at it. Shit, I've got a meeting in 5 minutes. She stood, gathering the trash. Ryan stood too. Thanks for lunch, he said. No problem. She started walking back toward the office, then turned around. Hey, Ryan. Yeah? You're not as stuck as you think you are. She said it lightly, like it was no big deal, but the words stayed with him long after she was gone. That weekend, Eli asked if he could have a friend over. Ryan was in the kitchen, halfway through making dinner, when Eli appeared in the doorway looking nervous. What's up, bud? Can Mason come over tomorrow? We want to work on our science project. Sure, that's fine. Cool, thanks. Eli hesitated. Also, can we order pizza? Ryan raised an eyebrow. What's wrong with my cooking? Nothing, it's just Mason's mom makes really good pizza and I don't want him to think ours is bad. We don't have pizza, Eli. We have whatever I'm making. Yeah, exactly, Ryan sighed. Fine. We'll order pizza. Eli grinned and disappeared back to his room. Ryan stood there for a moment, staring at the half-chopped vegetables on the counter. He wasn't a great cook, but he wasn't terrible either. Eli had never complained before. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe Eli had been complaining, and Ryan just hadn't noticed. He thought about what Lena had said, about being stuck. Maybe she was right. Mason came over on Sunday afternoon. He was a wiry kid with braces and an obnoxious laugh, but he seemed nice enough. The two boys disappeared into Eli's room almost immediately, leaving Ryan alone in the living room with nothing to do. He tried to work on some reports, gave up after 20 minutes, tried watching TV, got bored. Finally, he pulled out his phone, and before he could talk himself out of it, texted Lena. Hey, random question. Do you know anything about science projects? Her response came back almost immediately. Depends. What kind of science? The kind that 12-year-olds do. Ah, the kind where they build a volcano and act like they discovered fire. Ryan smiled. Something like that. Eli's got a friend over and they're supposed to be working on it, but I'm pretty sure they're just playing video games. Sounds about right. Need help? No, just making conversation. There was a pause, then, you're bad at making conversation. I know. Lucky for you, I'm good at it. Want to grab coffee tomorrow morning? Before work? Ryan stared at the message. It was just coffee. Not a big deal. Except it kind of felt like a big deal. Sure, he typed. Great. There's a place on 5th. Meet you there at 7? Sounds good. He set the phone down, feeling like he'd just made a decision he didn't fully understand. From Eli's room, he heard laughter and the sound of something crashing. He got up to investigate, but before he reached the door, Eli's voice called out, We're fine. Ryan stopped. You sure? Yeah, just don't come in for a minute. Ryan shook his head, smiling despite himself. He went back to the couch and picked up his phone again. Lena hadn't texted anything else. He wondered what she was doing right now, then felt stupid for wondering. The coffee shop on 5th was small and crowded, the kind of place where every table was taken by someone with a laptop and headphones. Ryan arrived 5 minutes early and managed to snag a table near the window. Lena showed up exactly at 7, looking effortlessly put together in jeans and a sweater. You actually came, she said, sitting down across from him. Why wouldn't I? I don't know. You seem like the type who'd get cold feet and cancel last minute. I'm not that type. Good to know. She flagged down a barista and ordered something complicated with oat milk and extra foam. Ryan got black coffee. When the drinks arrived, Lena wrapped her hands around her cup and looked at him. So, what's on your mind? Nothing specific. Just figured I owed you a coffee after you kept bringing me one. You don't owe me anything. Still, Lena smiled. Okay, well, in that case, thanks. They talked for a while about nothing important. Work, weekend plans, a movie Lena had seen that Ryan had never heard of. It was easy, comfortable. At some point, Lena's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned, and typed out a quick response. Everything okay? Ryan asked. Yeah, just my mom. She wants me to come visit next month. That's good, right? Depends on your definition of good. Lena set the phone down. She means well, but she's got this way of making everything feel like a test I'm failing. What do you mean? Like, every time I see her, it's the same questions. When am I going to settle down? Why am I still working so much? Don't I want kids? Lena shrugged. It gets old, Ryan nodded. My parents used to do that. After Claire died, they kept asking when I was going to start dating again. Like there was some timeline I was supposed to follow. People don't know how to deal with grief, so they try to fix it. Yeah, exactly. Ryan paused. Do you want kids? Lena looked surprised. I don't know, maybe. Someday. Why? Just curious. She studied him for a moment. Do you ever think about having more? Not really. Eli's enough. Fair. They fell into silence again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Lena sipped her coffee, watching the street outside. Ryan found himself watching her instead. There was something about her that made him feel lighter, like the weight he'd been carrying for so long wasn't quite as heavy when she was around, which was dangerous, because the last time he'd let himself feel like this, it had ended in disaster. I should get going, Ryan said abruptly. Lena looked at him, confused. Okay. Yeah, me too. They stood, gathered their things. As they walked toward the door, Lena said, Same time next week? Ryan hesitated. I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? Because, he trailed off, because he didn't know how to explain it without sounding like an idiot. Lena crossed her arms. Ryan, if you don't want to hang out, just say so. I'm not going to be offended. It's not that. Then what is it? He looked at her, really looked at her, and realized he was already in too deep. Nothing, he said finally. Same time next week is fine. Lena smiled. Good. But Marcus cornered him later that afternoon. So, how was coffee? Ryan didn't look up from his computer. How do you know about that? I saw you leaving together this morning. You looked suspicious. I didn't look suspicious. You absolutely did. So what's going on? Nothing's going on. We just got coffee, Marcus grinned. Right, just coffee. With the woman you brought to your high school reunion as your fake girlfriend. It wasn't a big deal. It's always a big deal when you actually leave the office for something that isn't Eli related. Marcus leaned against the desk. Look, man, I'm happy for you. Lena's great. Just don't screw it up. There's nothing to screw up. Yet. Ryan finally looked at him. What's that supposed to mean? It means you like her, and she clearly likes you, so stop overthinking it and just see where it goes. I'm not overthinking anything. Marcus laughed. You've been overthinking everything since the day I met you. He straightened. Just do me a favor. Don't sabotage this before it even starts. He left before Ryan could argue. Ryan sat there, staring at his screen without seeing it. Marcus was wrong. He wasn't sabotaging anything. He was just being realistic. But a small part of him, the part he'd been trying to ignore, wondered if maybe Marcus had a point. The next week passed in a blur. Work was busy. Eli had 2 soccer games, and Ryan barely had time to think about anything beyond the immediate chaos of his life. But Friday morning, Lena texted him, same place, same time. Ryan stared at the message for a long time. He should say no. He should tell her he was busy, that he couldn't keep doing this, that it was getting too complicated. But instead, he typed, see you there. Bet. This time, when they met, Lena looked tired. She ordered her usual overly complicated coffee and sat down with a sigh. Rough week? Ryan asked. You have no idea. I've been in back-to-back meetings for 3 days straight. I think I've forgotten what sunlight looks like. Welcome to adulthood, Lena laughed. Is this really what the next 40 years look like? Because if so, I might need a new plan. It gets better, sort of. That's not reassuring. Ryan smiled. You'll figure it out. You're smart. Smart doesn't always help. Lena leaned back in her chair. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing, you know? Like, I work all the time, and for what? So I can climb some imaginary ladder that probably doesn't even matter? So why do it? Because I don't know what else to do. She looked at him. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. They sat quietly for a moment. Then Lena said, Can I tell you something? Sure. I didn't just agree to go to your reunion because it sounded fun. Ryan's stomach tightened. Why did you agree? Lena hesitated. Because I've kind of been, I don't know, curious about you for a while now. Curious how? Just, you're different from most people here. You don't try so hard. You don't play the game. She looked down at her coffee. And I don't know. I guess I wanted to get to know you better. Ryan didn't know what to say. I'm not trying to make this weird, Lena added quickly. I just thought you should know. It's not weird. Good. But it was weird. Because now Ryan had to confront the thing he'd been avoiding, that this wasn't just coffee between coworkers. This was something else. And he had no idea what to do about it. That night, after Eli had gone to bed, Ryan sat in the living room with a beer he didn't really want. He thought about Lena, about the way she looked at him, like she saw something worth seeing, about the way she made him feel, like maybe he wasn't as broken as he thought. He thought about Claire, about the life they'd built together, and the life he'd been living since she died. And he thought about Eli, about what it would mean to let someone new into their lives. It was too much, too complicated. But as he sat there in the dark, staring at nothing, Ryan realized something. He didn't want to stop seeing Lena, and that terrified him more than anything, because the last time he'd opened himself up to someone, he'd lost everything, and he didn't know if he could survive losing everything again. But maybe, just maybe, it was worth the risk. Ryan spent the entire weekend convincing himself to end it. Whatever was happening with Lena, the coffee, the lunches, the late-night texts that had started appearing on his phone, it needed to stop. He had Eli to think about. He had a routine that worked. He didn't need complications. By Monday morning, he'd rehearsed the speech 3 times. Casual but firm, grateful but clear. I think we should keep things professional. Except when he got to the office, Lena wasn't there. Marcus found him staring at her empty desk like an idiot. She's out sick, Marcus said. Sent an email this morning. Oh. Ryan tried to sound indifferent. That's too bad. You look devastated. I don't look devastated. You look like someone just told you Christmas is canceled. Marcus grinned. Just text her, man. Ask if she's okay. That would be weird. What's weird is you standing here staring at her desk. Ryan walked away before Marcus could say anything else. But by lunch, he'd pulled out his phone 4 times. By 3 o'clock, he gave up and sent the text. Heard you're out sick. Hope you're okay. Lena's response came 20 minutes later. Just a cold. I'll live. Thanks for checking. Ryan stared at the message. He should leave it there, let the conversation die. Instead, he typed, Need anything? The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm out of soup and too lazy to go to the store, but I'll survive. Ryan looked at the clock. It was almost 4. He could leave early, pick up soup, drop it off. Simple. Except it wasn't simple, because showing up at her apartment with soup was exactly the kind of thing that would make this more complicated. He did it anyway. Lena answered the door in sweatpants and an oversized hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked terrible, also kind of adorable, which Ryan tried very hard not to notice. You brought soup, she said, staring at the bag in his hand. You said you needed soup. I was joking. Oh, Ryan felt like an idiot. I can just... No, come in. This is actually really nice. She stepped aside and Ryan followed her into a small apartment that was somehow both cluttered and organized. Books stacked on every surface, a laptop open on the coffee table, a blanket draped over the couch. Sorry about the mess, Lena said, clearing a spot on the counter. I wasn't expecting company. It's fine. She pulled 2 bowls out of the cabinet. You're staying, right? I should probably get back. Eli's got soccer practice at 6. It's 4:15. You have time. Lena started ladling soup into the bowls. Besides, you brought enough for a small army. What is this, chicken noodle? And vegetable. I didn't know which one you'd want. Lena smiled. You're thoughtful. I didn't know that about you. I have my moments. They sat on the couch, eating soup and watching some cooking show Lena had paused. She didn't talk much, which was unusual for her. Ryan wondered if she felt as awkward as he did. After a while, Lena set her bowl down and looked at him. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you really come here? Ryan hesitated. You said you needed soup. Ryan, he set his own bowl down. I don't know. I wanted to make sure you were okay. Why? Because... He trailed off, not sure how to finish the sentence. Lena leaned back against the couch, studying him. You know what I think? What? I think you're scared. Ryan's chest tightened. Of what? Of this. Of me. Of whatever's happening between us. Nothing's happening between us. Liar. Ryan looked away. Lena. It's okay to be scared, she said quietly. I get it. You've been through a lot. You don't want to mess things up, but you can't just keep running every time something feels real. I'm not running. You were about to. Before I got sick, you were going to tell me we should stop hanging out. Weren't you? Ryan didn't answer. Lena laughed softly. I knew it. You get this look on your face when you're about to do something stupid, like you're bracing for impact. How would you know that? Because I've been paying attention. She shifted closer. I know you take your coffee black. I know you hate small talk, but you're good at it anyway. I know you check your phone every hour to see if Eli's school has called. I know you feel guilty about things that aren't your fault. Ryan's throat felt tight. You don't know me as well as you think. Maybe not, but I want to. The words hung between them. Ryan didn't know what to say, didn't know if there was anything to say. Finally, Lena reached out and took his hand. I'm not asking you to have all the answers right now. I'm just asking you not to shut me out. Ryan looked down at their joined hands. Her fingers were warm, steady. Everything about her felt steady. I don't know how to do this, he said. Do what? Let someone in. Without screwing it up. Then we'll figure it out together. Lena squeezed his hand. But you have to actually try. Ryan met her eyes. There was no pity there, no judgment, just patience. He nodded slowly. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. Lena smiled. Good. Now finish your soup before it gets cold. Ryan stayed longer than he meant to. They talked, really talked, about things he hadn't discussed with anyone in years. His fears about being a good father, the guilt he still carried about Claire, the way he felt like he was always one mistake away from everything falling apart. Lena listened without trying to fix anything. She just let him talk. When he finally left, it was almost 6:30. He was going to be late picking up Eli. But as he drove across town, Ryan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. Like maybe he didn't have to carry everything alone anymore. What? Eli was waiting outside the soccer field, kicking a ball against the fence. Sorry I'm late, Ryan said as Eli climbed into the car. It's fine. Coach let us scrimmage an extra 15 minutes. Eli buckled his seatbelt. Where were you? I had to drop something off for a friend. What friend? Just someone from work. Eli looked at him suspiciously. You don't have friends from work. I have Marcus. Marcus doesn't count. He just shows up and bothers you. Ryan smiled. Fair point. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Then Eli said, Is it a girl? Ryan nearly swerved into the next lane. What? The friend. Is it a girl? Why would you think that? Eli shrugged. You've been on your phone more and you keep smiling at random stuff. Mason's dad did the same thing before he started dating his new girlfriend. Ryan didn't know whether to be impressed or horrified. It's not like that. Okay. I mean it. I said okay. Eli pulled out his own phone, already losing interest. But Ryan could tell from the way Eli kept glancing at him that the conversation wasn't over. That night, after Eli had gone to bed, Ryan sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open, pretending to work. His phone buzzed. Thanks for the soup, and for staying. It meant a lot. Ryan typed back, anytime. Another message came through almost immediately. I'm serious about what I said earlier. I want to get to know you. The real you. Not the version you think you're supposed to be. Ryan stared at the screen. His first instinct was to deflect, to make a joke, to keep things light. Instead, he wrote, I want that too. I'm just not good at it. You're better than you think. He didn't know how to respond to that. So he sent a simple, Good night, Lena. Good night, Ryan. He set the phone down and closed his laptop. Upstairs, he could hear the faint sound of Eli's music playing through the walls. For the first time in years, Ryan let himself imagine what it might be like to have someone, to not be alone. It scared the hell out of him, but it also felt like hope. The following week, Lena was back at work. She looked better. No more dark circles, no more stuffy voice. But something between them had shifted. They didn't talk about it. They just kept meeting for coffee, kept texting, kept finding excuses to be around each other. Marcus noticed, of course. "You two are subtle as a brick," he said one afternoon, watching Ryan and Lena leave the conference room together. "We're not doing anything. You're doing something. You're just in denial about it." Ryan didn't argue, because Marcus was right. They were doing something. He just didn't know what to call it yet. No. It was Lena who finally forced the issue. 2 weeks after the soup incident, she texted him, "We need to talk." Ryan's stomach dropped. Nothing good ever followed those 4 words. They met at the park, the same one they'd had lunch at weeks ago. Lena was already there when Ryan arrived, sitting on a bench with her hands shoved in her jacket pockets. "Hey," Ryan said, sitting down beside her. "Hey." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Lena said, "I need to know what we're doing." "What do you mean?" "I mean, are we just friends? Are we something else? Because right now it feels like we're in this weird in-between, and I don't know how to navigate it." Ryan looked down at his hands. "I don't know either." "That's not good enough." "I know." Lena turned to face him. "Ryan, I like you. A lot. And I think you like me too. But if you're just keeping me around because it's comfortable, I need to know. Because I can't do this if it's not going anywhere." "It's not that." "Then what is it?" Ryan exhaled slowly. "I'm terrified. Okay? I'm terrified of screwing this up, of letting you get close and then losing you, of bringing you into Eli's life and having it fall apart and him getting hurt because of me. You can't control everything, Ryan." "I know, but I can try." Lena shook her head. "That's not how this works. You can't protect yourself or Eli from every possible bad thing that might happen. At some point, you just have to take the leap. And if I can't, then I'll walk away. Because I'm not going to waste my time on someone who won't even try." The words stung, but they were fair. Ryan looked at her, really looked at her. At the way her jaw was set, the way her eyes held his without flinching. She wasn't bluffing. She meant every word. And in that moment, Ryan realized he had a choice. He could keep hiding, keep protecting himself, keep living in the safe, small world he'd built. Or he could take the risk. "I want to try," he said quietly. Lena's expression softened. "Yeah? Yeah. I don't know if I'll be good at it, but I want to try." She reached over and took his hand. "That's all I'm asking." But they decided to keep things simple. No big announcements, no pressure, just see where it went. Which lasted exactly 3 days before Ryan started overthinking everything. What did it mean to be dating? Were they exclusive? Should he tell Eli? What if Lena met Eli and they didn't get along? What if— "You're doing it again," Lena said. They were having dinner at a small Italian place near Ryan's house. Eli was at a friend's for the night, which meant Ryan and Lena actually had time to sit and talk without interruptions. "Doing what?" "Spiraling." Lena set down her fork. "I can see it on your face. What are you freaking out about now?" Ryan sighed. "I'm just trying to figure out how this is supposed to work." "There's no supposed to. We just do what feels right." "And what if what feels right to me isn't what feels right to you?" Lena smiled. "Then we talk about it, like adults." "That simple?" "That's simple." Ryan wanted to believe her, but the voice in his head, the one that had kept him safe for years, kept whispering that it couldn't be that easy. Lena must have seen the doubt on his face, because she leaned forward. "Ryan, listen to me. I'm not Claire. I'm not Vanessa. I'm not going to disappear the second things get hard, but you have to meet me halfway. I'm trying. I know, and I appreciate it, but trying means actually letting me in, not just saying you will." Ryan nodded. "You're right." "I usually am." He laughed despite himself. "You're also incredibly smug." "Only when I'm right, which is most of the time." They finished dinner and Ryan drove her home. As she got out of the car, she leaned back in through the window. "Hey, Ryan." "Yeah?" "This was nice. Let's do it again." "Yeah, let's." She smiled and walked toward her building. Ryan watched her go, feeling that familiar tightness in his chest. But this time, it didn't feel like fear. It felt like something else entirely. The real test came 2 weeks later when Lena asked the question Ryan had been dreading. "When do I get to meet Eli?" They were sitting on her couch, watching a movie neither of them was paying attention to. Ryan had been half asleep, comfortable in a way he hadn't been in years. The question jolted him awake. What? Eli, Lena repeated. When do I get to meet him? Ryan sat up. I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? Because he struggled to find the words. Because once you meet him, this becomes real. And if it doesn't work out, Ryan, Lena grabbed his hand, it's already real. And yeah, if it doesn't work out, it'll be messy. But that's the risk we're taking. You can't keep him separate from the rest of your life forever. I'm just trying to protect him. I know, but at some point you have to trust that things might actually work out. Ryan closed his eyes. She was right. He knew she was right. But the thought of introducing Lena to Eli, of watching them interact, of seeing whether they'd get along, terrified him in ways he couldn't explain. Okay, he said finally. Lena blinked. Okay? Yeah, you can meet him? When? I don't know. Soon. Lena smiled. Good. I'm looking forward to it. Ryan wasn't sure he could say the same, but as he sat there, Lena's hand still in his, he realized something. For the first time since Claire died, he wasn't just surviving. He was living, and that was worth the risk. Ryan told Eli over breakfast the following Saturday. So, there's someone I want you to meet. Eli looked up from his cereal. Who? Her name's Lana. She's a friend. A friend or a girlfriend friend? Ryan hesitated. Somewhere in between, Eli considered this. Is she nice? Yeah, she's nice. Does she like soccer? I don't know. I'll ask. Eli shrugged. Okay, when's she coming over? Tomorrow, for lunch. Cool. Eli went back to his cereal like it was the most normal thing in the world. Ryan sat there, stunned. He'd been preparing for questions, for resistance, for something. Instead, Eli seemed completely unbothered. That's it? Ryan asked. What? You're not, I don't know, weirded out? Eli gave him a look. Dad, I'm 12, not 5. I know how dating works. Right, yeah. Ryan felt like an idiot. Besides, Eli added, you've been way less grumpy lately, so she must be doing something right. Ryan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Thanks, bud. No problem. Lena showed up at noon the next day with a bag of pastries and a nervous smile. Is this okay? She asked, holding up the bag. I didn't know what he liked, so I got a bunch of different things. It's perfect, Ryan said. Eli appeared in the hallway, eyeing Lena with curiosity. Hey, Lena said. You must be Eli. Yeah, I'm Lena. Your dad's told me a lot about you. Really? He doesn't talk about me that much. Ryan cleared his throat. That's not true. Eli grinned. I'm just messing with you. Lena laughed. I like him already. They ate lunch at the kitchen table, sandwiches Ryan had made and the pastries Lena brought. Eli asked her 1,000 questions, what she did for work, where she grew up, whether she'd ever been to Europe, what her favorite video game was. Lena answered everyone patiently, like she genuinely cared. And maybe she did. At one point, Eli asked, Do you like soccer? Lena glanced at Ryan. I've never really watched it, but I'm willing to learn. You should come to one of my games. I'd like that. Eli beamed. Ryan sat there, watching them talk, feeling something shift inside him. This was real. This was happening. And for the first time in years, he wasn't afraid. After lunch, Eli disappeared to his room to play video games. Lena helped Ryan clean up the kitchen. He's great, she said. Yeah, he is. You did a good job with him. Ryan shook his head. I don't know about that. I'm mostly just trying not to screw up. You're not screwing up. Lena dried the last dish and set it on the counter. He's happy. That's what matters. Ryan looked at her. Thank you. For what? For being here. For being you. Lena smiled. Anytime. She kissed him, soft and quick, and Ryan felt the last of his walls crumble. This was real. And for once, that didn't scare him. It just felt right. The weeks that followed felt like learning to breathe underwater. Ryan kept waiting for the moment when everything would collapse, when Lena would realize what she'd gotten herself into and leave. But that moment never came. Instead, she showed up. She came to Eli's soccer games, cheering louder than any of the other parents. She helped Ryan grocery shop, pointing out that he'd been buying the same 5 things for months, and maybe Eli deserved some variety. She sat at their kitchen table on Thursday nights, laptop open, working quietly while Ryan made dinner and Eli did homework. She fit into their lives like she'd always been there. And that terrified Ryan more than anything, because the better it got, the more he had to lose. It was a Tuesday evening when things started to shift. Ryan was at his desk, half focused on a budget report, when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Hello? Ryan? It's Vanessa. His hand tightened around the phone. Vanessa, hi. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time. I got your number from the reunion contact list. I hope that's okay. It wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. What do you need? Ryan asked, keeping his voice neutral. I just wanted to reach out. It was so good to see you at the reunion. I've been thinking about you since then. Ryan closed his eyes. Vanessa, I know this is out of the blue, but I was wondering if maybe we could get coffee sometime. Catch up properly, without all the noise from the reunion. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? We used to be close. I'd really like to reconnect. I'm seeing someone. There was a pause. Oh, the woman from the reunion? Yeah. Is it serious? Ryan thought about Lena sitting on his couch last night, Eli between them, all 3 of them watching some ridiculous movie Eli had picked. He thought about the way she'd laughed when Eli made fun of Ryan's terrible cooking, the way she'd reached over and squeezed Ryan's hand during a particularly cheesy scene. Yeah, he said, it's serious. Well, Vanessa's voice had gone cold. I'm happy for you. She didn't sound happy. Thanks. I should go. Wait, Ryan? He hung up before she could finish. For a long moment, he sat there staring at his phone. Then he texted Lena. Vanessa just called. Her response was immediate. What did she want? To get coffee. I said no. Good. Want me to come over? Ryan smiled. Yeah, I'd like that. Lena showed up an hour later with Thai food and a bottle of wine. Eli had already eaten, so they sat at the kitchen table while he played video games upstairs. So, Lena said, opening the takeout containers. Vanessa. Yep. How do you feel about it? Ryan considered. Honestly, nothing. I thought it would bother me more, but it just doesn't. Because you're over her? Because I don't care what she thinks anymore. He paused. I spent so long letting people like her make me feel like I wasn't enough. Like I'd failed somehow, but I didn't fail. I just lived through something hard. Lena reached across the table and took his hand. You're damn right you didn't fail. I think it took meeting you to really believe that. I didn't do anything. You did everything. Ryan squeezed her hand. You saw me. Not the guy I used to be or the guy I thought I should be. Just me. And you didn't run. Lena's eyes were bright. Why would I run? You're pretty great. I'm really not. Agree to disagree. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lena said, I got offered something today. Ryan looked up. Yeah? What? A job. In Boston. Senior marketing director at a tech startup. It's a big step up from what I'm doing now. Ryan's stomach dropped. That's great. Lena set down her fork. You don't sound like you think it's great. No, I do. I'm happy for you. But Boston's not exactly close. I know. So what are you going to do? Lena looked down at her plate. I haven't decided yet. Ryan felt like the ground had shifted beneath him. Just when things were finally working, the universe was throwing him another curveball. When do you need to decide? They want an answer by the end of next week. That's soon. I know. They sat in silence. Ryan wanted to tell her to stay, wanted to ask her not to go. But he couldn't, because that wouldn't be fair. You should take it, he said finally. Lena looked at him sharply. What? It's a great opportunity. You'd be stupid not to. Ryan, I mean it. This is your career. You can't pass that up. And what about us? We'll figure it out. Lena's jaw tightened. That's not an answer. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me what you want. Ryan stood up, started pacing. It doesn't matter what I want. Of course it matters. No, it doesn't. Because I'm not going to be the reason you don't follow your dreams. I've already held enough people back. You haven't held anyone back. Claire wanted to go to grad school. Did I ever tell you that? She got accepted to this amazing program in Chicago. But then she got pregnant with Eli, and we decided she should wait. Just a few years, we said, until things settled down. Except things never settled down, and then she got sick, and she never got to go. Lena stood, crossing to him. That wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? No. It was life. Life happened. And sometimes life is messy and unfair and doesn't go the way we planned. She grabbed his shoulders, forcing him to look at her. But you can't keep punishing yourself for things you couldn't control. I'm not punishing myself. You're telling me to take a job across the country because you think that's what I want, but you haven't even asked if it's what I want, isn't it? Lena's eyes were fierce. I don't know yet, because I'm trying to figure out what I'd be leaving behind. The words hung between them. Ryan felt something crack open in his chest. Lena, I need time to think, she said quietly. And you need to figure out what you actually want, not what you think is best for me. What you want. She grabbed her coat and left before Ryan could respond. He stood there in the kitchen, listening to the sound of her car pulling away, feeling like he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. Eli appeared in the doorway a few minutes later. Did Lena leave? Ryan turned, trying to compose himself. Yeah, she had to go. Are you guys fighting? Not fighting, just working through some stuff. Eli came into the kitchen, sat down at the table. Is she moving? Ryan blinked. How did you... I heard you guys talking, not on purpose. I came down to get water and you were kind of loud. Ryan sat down across from him. Yeah, she got offered a job in Boston. That sucks. It's a good opportunity for her. It still sucks. Eli picked at a napkin on the table. Are you going to ask her to stay? I can't do that. Why not? Because it's not fair. Eli looked at him like he was an idiot. Dad, you know what's not fair? Not telling someone how you feel and then being sad when they leave. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't listen. Ryan laughed despite himself. Fair point. So are you going to tell her? I don't know. You should. She's cool, and she makes you less weird. I'm not weird. You're super weird, but in a less sad way now. Ryan reached over and ruffled Eli's hair. Thanks, bud. No problem. Eli stood up. I'm going to go back upstairs, but seriously, tell her. He left, and Ryan sat there alone in the kitchen, thinking about everything that had just happened. Eli was right. Of course he was right. Ryan was so busy protecting himself that he'd forgotten how to fight for what he wanted, and what he wanted was Lena. He texted her the next morning. Can we talk? She didn't respond until lunch. I'm at the park, the one we always go to. Ryan left work early and found her sitting on their bench, staring at nothing. Hey, he said, sitting down. Hey. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Ryan said, I'm sorry. For what? For being an idiot. For pushing you away. For acting like what I want doesn't matter. Lena looked at him. What do you want, Ryan? He took a breath. I want you to stay. Why? Because I love you. The words came out easier than he'd expected, like they'd been sitting there the whole time, waiting for him to be brave enough to say them. Lena's eyes widened. You love me? Yeah, I do, and I know that's scary and complicated and probably a terrible reason to turn down a great job, but it's the truth. I love you, and I don't want you to go. Lena was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I love you too. Ryan's heart stuttered. You do? Of course I do. You're kind and stubborn and way too hard on yourself, and you make me want to be better. How could I not love you? So, what does that mean? It means I need to think about what I really want. She took his hand. This job, it's amazing. It's everything I thought I wanted, But so is this. So are you, and Eli, and the life we're building. I don't want you to resent me if you don't take it. I won't, because whatever I decide, it'll be my choice, not yours. Ryan nodded. Okay. Okay. They sat there, hands intertwined, watching the world move around them. Lena made her decision 3 days later. She called Ryan at work, asked him to meet her at the coffee shop on 5th, the one where they'd had their first not date. Ryan's hands were shaking when he walked in. Lena was already there, 2 cups on the table. She looked calm, resolved. I turned it down, she said as soon as Ryan sat down. He stared at her. What? The job. I turned it down. Lena, before you say anything, let me explain. She leaned forward. I spent the last 3 days thinking about what I really want. And yeah, the job would have been great. Good money, good title, good experience. But I realized something. I've spent my whole life chasing the next thing, the next promotion, the next opportunity, the next big move. And I'm tired of it. You don't have to give up your career for me. I'm not. I'm choosing what makes me happy. And what makes me happy is here, with you, with Eli. Building something real instead of always running towards something better. Ryan felt like he couldn't breathe. Are you sure? I'm sure, she smiled. Besides, I already talked to my boss. There's a new role opening up here in 6 months, regional director. It's actually a better fit for what I want to do long term. You've thought this through. I have. I'm not some love-struck idiot making a reckless decision. I'm choosing you because you're worth choosing. Ryan reached across the table and took both her hands. I don't know what I did to deserve you. You were yourself. That's all you ever had to do. Sad. They told Eli that night over dinner. So Lena's staying, Ryan said. Eli looked up from his pasta. Cool. That's it? Just cool? What do you want me to say? I already knew she was going to stay. Lena laughed. How did you know? Because she looks at Dad the same way he looks at her, like all gross and happy. Eli made a face. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. Sorry our happiness annoys you, Ryan said dryly. It's fine, I'll survive. Eli grinned. Does this mean Lena's going to be around more? If that's okay with you, Lena said. Yeah, it's okay. You're cool. Plus you actually know how to cook, which is good because Dad's terrible. I'm sitting right here. I know. I want you to hear me. Lena was laughing so hard she nearly choked on her water. Ryan tried to look offended but couldn't quite manage it. This was his life now, chaotic and loud and full of people who called him out on his nonsense. And he wouldn't change a thing. 2 months later, Lena moved in. It wasn't a dramatic decision. Her lease was up and Ryan's place was bigger and it just made sense. Eli helped her pack, mostly so he could make fun of the amount of books she owned. Who needs this many books? He asked, lugging another box into the house. People who like reading, Lena said. Yeah, but you have a Kindle. It's not the same. It's literally the same. Eli, I will fight you on this. Ryan watched them bicker, feeling that same tightness in his chest. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was happiness. That night, after everything was unpacked and Eli had gone to bed, Ryan and Lena sat on the couch, exhausted. This is real now, Lena said. Yeah. You okay with that? Ryan pulled her closer. More than okay. She rested her head on his shoulder. Good, because you're stuck with me now. I can live with that. They sat in silence, the house quiet around them. For the first time in years, Ryan felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. No fear, no doubt, just peace. Life settled into a new rhythm after that. Mornings were chaotic, 3 people trying to get ready in one bathroom, someone always running late. Evenings were quieter. Dinner at the table, Eli's homework spread out, Lena's laptop open, Ryan pretending to care about whatever report he was working on. It wasn't perfect. They argued about stupid things. Who forgot to take out the trash? Why there were never any clean towels? Whether it was acceptable to eat cereal for dinner. But it was real. And messy. And theirs. One Saturday afternoon, Marcus came over for a barbecue. He stood in the backyard, beer in hand, watching Lena and Eli play soccer. You did good, man, Marcus said. Ryan flipped a burger. Yeah? Yeah, she's great. Eli's happy. You're happy. It's kind of disgusting how well this worked out. I got lucky. You didn't get lucky. You took a chance. There's a difference. Ryan watched Lena steal the ball from Eli, laughing as he chased her across the yard. Yeah, I guess I did. Just don't screw it up. I'll try not to. That's all anyone can do. A few weeks later, Ryan came home from work to find Lena sitting at the kitchen table staring at her phone. Everything okay? He asked. She looked up, and he could tell she'd been crying. Lena, what's wrong? It's my mom. She had a fall. She's in the hospital. Ryan's chest tightened. Is she okay? They think so, but she's going to need surgery, and someone needs to be there. Then you should go. I can't just leave. Yes, you can. Family comes first. Lena stood, pacing. But what about work? And Eli's game next week? And Ryan grabbed her shoulders gently. We'll figure it out. Go be with your mom. You're sure? I'm sure. She hugged him tightly. Thank you. That's what I'm here for. Lena left the next morning. Ryan drove her to the airport, watched her disappear through security, and felt that familiar fear creeping back in. But this time, it was different, because he knew she'd come back. Doesn't. She was gone for 2 weeks. They talked every night, FaceTime calls where Eli would pop into frame to tell her about his day, and Ryan would pretend he wasn't counting down the hours until she returned. When she finally came home, Ryan and Eli picked her up from the airport. Eli saw her first and took off running. Lena caught him in a hug, laughing. I missed you too, kid. It's been so boring without you. Dad tried to make spaghetti and it was terrible. It wasn't that bad, Ryan protested. It was really bad. Lena looked at Ryan over Eli's head, and he saw everything he needed to see in her eyes. She was home. That night, after Eli had gone to bed, Ryan and Lena sat on the back porch, wrapped in blankets against the cool air. How's your mom? Ryan asked. Better. She's tough. She'll be okay. Good. They sat quietly for a moment, then Lena said, I realized something while I was gone. What's that? This is home now, not my mom's place, not my old apartment. Here, with you and Eli. Ryan pulled her closer. Yeah? Yeah. Good, because we're not letting you go. Lena smiled. I'm not going anywhere. And Ryan believed her. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. He was just living, and that was enough. 3 months after Lana moved in, Ryan woke up to an empty bed. He blinked in the early morning light, disoriented. The space beside him was cold. He checked his phone, 6:15 on a Saturday, way too early for anyone to be up voluntarily. He found Lena in the kitchen, laptop open, coffee untouched beside her. She was staring at the screen with an intensity that made his stomach drop. Hey, he said quietly. She jumped, then quickly closed the laptop. Hey, sorry, did I wake you? No. What are you doing up? Couldn't sleep. She wrapped her hands around the coffee mug but didn't drink. Just thinking. Ryan sat down across from her. About what? Lena hesitated. I got an email last night from the company in Boston, the one I turned down. Ryan's chest tightened. Okay. They reached out again, said they still want me. They're willing to match any counteroffer, give me more equity, better benefits. She finally looked at him. It's a really good offer, Ryan. Are you thinking about taking it? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's stupid not to at least consider it, right? Ryan felt like the floor had dropped out from under him, but he kept his voice steady. If it's what you want, then you should do it. That's not what I asked. I don't know what you want me to say. Lena's eyes flashed. I want you to tell me what you're thinking, not what you think I want to hear. What you're actually thinking. Ryan stood up, started pacing. I'm thinking that we've been through this already, and you chose to stay, and now 3 months later, you're reconsidering, and I don't know what that means. It means I got offered something I worked really hard for. I know that. Do you? Because it feels like you think I'm just looking for an excuse to leave. Aren't you? The words came out harsher than he'd intended. Lena flinched. That's not fair, she said quietly. You're right. I'm sorry. Ryan ran his hand through his hair. I thought we were past this. I thought you were happy here. I am happy here. But that doesn't mean I don't wonder what else is out there. She stood, crossing to him. Ryan, I love you. I love Eli. I love the life we're building, but I'm 28 years old. I'm allowed to think about my career without it meaning I don't love you. I know. Do you? Because every time something comes up, you act like I'm 1 foot out the door. Ryan looked away. Because I keep waiting for you to realize you made a mistake. What mistake? Choosing me. Choosing this. He gestured around the kitchen. You could be running a whole department in Boston. Instead, you're here making coffee at 6 in the morning because you can't sleep. Lena grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. I didn't make a mistake, and I'm not going to wake up one day and regret choosing you. But you have to stop waiting for me to leave, because I can't keep proving myself over and over. I'm not asking you to prove anything. Yes, you are. Every time you tell me to take the job, every time you act like what you want doesn't matter, you're testing me, and I'm tired of it. The words hit like a slap, because she was right. Ryan had been so afraid of holding her back that he'd been pushing her away instead. I don't know how to stop, he admitted. Then figure it out, because I can't do this if you won't meet me halfway. She grabbed her laptop and disappeared upstairs, leaving Ryan alone in the kitchen. He stood there for a long time, feeling like everything was unraveling again. Eli found him an hour later, still sitting at the table. You and Lena fighting? Eli asked, pouring himself cereal. Something like that. What about? She got offered another job. In Boston. Eli stopped mid-pour. Is she leaving? I don't know. Did you ask her to stay? It's not that simple. Why not? Ryan sighed. Because I can't keep asking her to give things up for me. Eli sat down across from him. Dad, you know what I think? What? I think you're scared she's going to leave like Mom did. Not on purpose, but still. You think if you don't hold on too tight, it'll hurt less when she goes. Ryan stared at his 12-year-old son, wondering when he'd gotten so wise. That's pretty insightful, bud. I know, I'm smart. Eli ate a spoonful of cereal. But here's the thing, Lena's not Mom, and you can't keep treating her like she's going to disappear just because Mom did. When did you figure all this out? I've been in therapy for 2 years, Dad. I know some stuff. Eli shrugged. You should probably go to therapy too. Probably. So are you going to talk to her? Yeah, I just need to figure out what to say. Tell her the truth. That's all anyone wants. Eli finished his cereal and left. Ryan sat there, thinking about everything his son had just said. He was right. Of course he was right. Ryan had spent so long protecting himself from loss that he'd forgotten how to actually be present, how to trust that good things could last. He pulled out his phone and texted Marcus. Need advice. Can you talk? The response came immediately. Always. Come over. Marcus lived in an apartment across town with his boyfriend David. When Ryan showed up, David took one look at him and disappeared into the bedroom. That bad, huh? Marcus said, handing Ryan a beer. I'm screwing everything up. What happened? Ryan explained the whole thing. The job offer, the fight, the way he kept pushing Lena away because he was too afraid to hold on. Marcus listened without interrupting. When Ryan finished, Marcus said, You know what your problem is? I have a feeling you're about to tell me. You think love is something you have to earn. Like if you're good enough, work hard enough, sacrifice enough, then you get to keep it. But that's not how it works. Then how does it work? You just show up. You be honest. You let people see you, the real you, not the version you think they want. And then you trust that they'll choose to stay. And if they don't, then at least you know you tried. But you can't spend your whole life hedging your bets, man. At some point, you just have to go all in. Ryan took a drink. What if I'm not brave enough? You asked a woman you barely knew to pretend to be your girlfriend in front of a room full of people who knew you when you were 17. You're plenty brave. Marcus leaned forward. You just have to decide if she's worth the risk. She is. Then tell her that. Not in some vague, half-assed way. Actually tell her what you want. Ryan nodded slowly. Yeah, okay. And Ryan? Yeah? Stop sabotaging yourself. You deserve to be happy. Ryan drove home with his heart pounding. He found Lena in their bedroom packing a bag. Where are you going? He asked. My mom's. Just for the weekend. I need some space to think. Don't. Lena looked up. What? Don't go. Not like this. Please. She set down the shirt she'd been folding. Ryan, I need to say something, and I need you to let me say it before you leave. Lena crossed her arms but didn't move. Ryan took a breath. I've been an idiot. I keep pushing you away because I'm terrified of losing you. And I know that doesn't make sense. I know I'm sabotaging the thing I want most, but I don't know how to stop being afraid. So what are you saying? I'm saying I don't want you to take the job. Not because I think you shouldn't have a career, but because I love you, and I want you here, with me and Eli, building this life. He stepped closer. And if that's selfish, then I'm sorry, but I'm tired of pretending I don't care. I care. I want you to stay. Not out of obligation or guilt, but because this is where you want to be. Lena's eyes were bright with tears. And if I want both, the career and the life with you, then we figure it out together. But you have to tell me what you actually want, not what you think will make everyone else happy. Lena was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I don't want the job in Boston. You don't? No, I thought I did. I thought I was supposed to want it. But the truth is, I've been chasing these opportunities my whole life because I thought they'd make me feel like I'd made it. Like I was enough. She wiped her eyes. But I already feel like that here. With you. With Eli. This is where I want to be. Ryan crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to prove that. I'm sorry I scared you. You didn't scare me. Well, maybe a little, but I'll survive. Lena laughed against his chest. We're kind of a mess, aren't we? Yeah, but we're our mess. She pulled back to look at him. I love you. I love you too. They stood there for a moment, just holding each other. Then Lena said, I should probably unpack. Probably. But neither of them moved. That night, after Eli had gone to bed, Ryan and Lena sat on the back porch. The air was cool, the sky clear. Can I ask you something? Lena said. Sure. When did you know that you loved me? Ryan thought about it. Remember that first lunch we had in the park? Yeah. You asked me if I ever thought about doing something different, and I said no because I had Eli, and that was enough. And you looked at me like I'd just said the saddest thing you'd ever heard. I don't remember that. I do. Because in that moment, I realized you saw me differently than I saw myself. You didn't see a guy who'd given up. You saw someone who still had potential, who could want more. He took her hand. And I think that's when I started falling for you, because you made me believe I could have more. Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. You always could have more. You just didn't think you deserved it. Maybe. But you helped me see it. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Lena said, I talked to my boss today about that regional director position. Yeah? She said it's mine if I want it. Starts in 3 months. That's amazing. It is, and I'm going to take it, but I'm also going to set boundaries. No more killing myself for a job. No more pretending my career is the only thing that matters. You sure? I'm sure because I want a life, not just a resume. Ryan squeezed her hand. I'm proud of you. Thanks. I'm proud of us. The weeks that followed felt different, lighter, like they'd both stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop and started actually living. Lena started her new role. It was demanding, but she held firm on her boundaries. No working weekends unless absolutely necessary. No answering emails after 8. She was good at the job. Great, even. But she didn't let it consume her. Ryan started seeing a therapist. It was Eli's idea, delivered casually over breakfast one morning. At first, Ryan resisted, but then he realized his 12-year-old son was right. He needed help letting go of the fear that had been running his life for years. Slowly, things started to shift. Ryan stopped assuming the worst, started trusting that good things could last, started believing he deserved them. And Lena stopped proving herself. Stopped trying to be perfect. Just existed as she was, flaws and all. It wasn't always smooth. They still argued about stupid things. Ryan still had moments where the fear crept back in. Lena still struggled with wanting to do everything perfectly, but they worked through it, together. 6 months later, Ryan came home to find Lena and Eli in the kitchen, laughing about something. "What's going on?" he asked. "Eli's teaching me how to make his favorite cookies," Lena said. "Apparently mine are terrible." "They're not terrible," Eli said. "They're just not good." "That's literally the same thing." Ryan leaned against the counter, watching them. Lena had flour on her nose. Eli was grinning. The kitchen was a disaster. It was perfect. "You just going to stand there or actually help?" Lena asked. "I'm enjoying the show." "Useless." But she was smiling. Ryan crossed to her, kissed her forehead. "I love you." "I know. Now grab a spoon and help us before Eli disowns us both." Ma. Later that night, after Eli had gone to bed and the kitchen was clean, Ryan and Lena collapsed on the couch. "That kid has too much energy," Lena said. "Tell me about it." She curled up against him. "This is nice." "Yeah?" "Yeah, just this. Us. Normal Saturday night, baking cookies, making a mess. I never thought I'd want something this simple, but I do." Ryan kissed the top of her head. "Me too." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lena said, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "What if we got married?" Ryan's heart stopped. "What?" Lena sat up, looking at him. "I'm not proposing. I'm just thinking out loud. Would you want that? Eventually?" Ryan stared at her. He'd thought about it, of course, late at night when he couldn't sleep. During quiet moments when Lena was reading and Eli was playing video games and everything felt impossibly right, but he'd never said it out loud. "Yeah," he said, "I would want that." Lena smiled. "Good, because I would too." "Should we, I don't know, make a plan?" "Let's not overthink it. We'll know when it's right." "Okay." She kissed him. "I love you, Ryan Carter." "I love you too." 3 months later, Ryan proposed. It wasn't planned. They were at the park, their park, on a random Tuesday afternoon. Eli was at soccer practice. They just grabbed coffee and were sitting on their bench talking about nothing important. And Ryan looked at her, really looked at her, and realized he didn't want to wait. "Marry me," he said. Lena blinked. "What?" "Marry me. I know we said we'd wait until it felt right, and maybe this isn't the right moment. Maybe I'm supposed to plan something elaborate or get down on one knee or whatever. But I don't want to wait. I want you, forever. So marry me." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have a ring." "I'll get you one. Whatever you want. Just say yes." "Yes." "Yeah?" "Yes, you idiot. Of course, yes." Ryan pulled her into his arms, laughing. "Okay, good. That's good. Did you seriously just propose to me on a random Tuesday with no ring? Is that a problem?" "No, it's perfect. You're perfect." "I'm really not." "Shut up and kiss me." He did. They told Eli that night over pizza. "So Lena and I have some news," Ryan started. Eli looked up from his phone. "You're getting married." Ryan blinked. "How did you?" "You guys have been acting weird all day. Plus Lena keeps looking at her hand like she expects a ring to appear." Eli shrugged. "It wasn't hard to figure out." Lena laughed. "You're too smart for your own good." "I know, so when's the wedding?" "We haven't figured that out yet," Ryan said. "Can I help plan it?" "You want to help plan a wedding?" "No, but I want to make sure you don't do anything embarrassing." "I think we can manage that." Eli grinned. "Cool. Congratulations, I guess." "Thanks, bud." "Does this mean Lena's officially going to be my stepmom?" Lena reached across the table and took Eli's hand. "If that's okay with you." "Yeah, it's okay." Eli squeezed her hand. "You're way better than Dad's cooking, so I'm cool with it." Ryan threw a napkin at him. "I'm sitting right here." "I know, I want you to hear me." Lena was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Ryan tried to look offended, but couldn't quite manage it. This was his family now. Chaotic and loud and absolutely perfect. They got married 4 months later in a small ceremony at the courthouse. Just them, Eli, Marcus, and David, and Lena's mom. It was simple. No big production, no elaborate plans, just two people making a promise to show up for each other every day for the rest of their lives. Afterward, they went to dinner at Eli's favorite restaurant, Nothing fancy, just good food and better company. At one point, Marcus raised his glass to Ryan and Lena, who proved that sometimes the best things happen when you stop overthinking and just take the leap. Everyone laughed and clinked glasses. Ryan looked around the table, at Lena, radiant in a simple dress, at Eli, grinning and stealing fries off Ryan's plate, at their friends who'd become family. He thought about the man he'd been a year ago, scared, closed off, convinced he didn't deserve good things. And he thought about the man he was now, still scared sometimes, still figuring it out, but willing to try. That was the difference. He'd stopped running, started living, and it had changed everything. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and Eli had crashed in his room, Ryan and Lena stood in their kitchen. "We're married," Lena said, like she couldn't quite believe it. "We are. How do you feel?" Ryan thought about it. Happy, terrified, grateful. That's a lot of feelings. "I contain multitudes," Lena laughed. "Yes, you do." She wrapped her arms around his waist. "Thank you." "For what?" "For taking the risk, for letting me in, for not giving up on us. Thank you for not giving up on me." "Never." They stood there in the quiet kitchen, holding each other, and Ryan realized something. This was what he'd been searching for all along. Not perfection, not the absence of fear, just someone to stand beside him through the mess and chaos of being human. Someone who saw him, all of him, and chose to stay anyway. Malt. A year later, Ryan stood in their backyard watching Lena and Eli play soccer. The grass needed mowing. The fence needed painting. There were 1,000 things on his to-do list that he was ignoring, because right now, this moment was exactly where he wanted to be. Eli scored a goal, and Lena cheered, dramatic and loud. Eli laughed, and Ryan's chest ached with how much he loved them both. "You coming, or just going to stand there?" Lena called. "I'm coming." He jogged over, and they played until the sun started to set, and Eli declared he was starving. Inside, they made dinner together. Lena chopped vegetables while Ryan handled the pasta, and Eli set the table. They moved around each other easily, a rhythm they'd developed over time. It wasn't perfect. The pasta was overcooked, the salad was undersalted, and Eli complained the whole time. But it was theirs, and that was more than enough. Hooked. That night, after Eli had gone to bed, Ryan found Lena on the back porch. She was wrapped in a blanket, staring up at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Everything. Nothing. How weird life is." "Yeah?" "A year ago, I was a single woman with a good job and no idea what I wanted, and now I'm married with a kid and a whole different life." She looked at him. "I never thought this would be what made me happy." "Regret it?" "Not even a little bit." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I just wish I could go back and tell 25-year-old me that it's okay to want something different than what you thought you wanted." "What would you tell her?" "That success isn't just climbing the ladder, it's building a life that feels right, even if it's not what you planned." Ryan wrapped his arm around her. "I think she'd be proud of you." "Maybe. What about you? What would you tell past Ryan?" Ryan thought about it. "That loss doesn't have to define you, that it's okay to be scared and do it anyway, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone in. And that you're a terrible cook? I'm not that terrible." "You really are." Ryan laughed. "Fair enough." They sat in comfortable silence, the night settling around them. After a while, Lena said, "You know what I think the secret is?" "To what?" "To all of this. To making it work." "What?" "Just showing up. Every day. Even when it's hard, even when you're scared. You just keep showing up." Ryan thought about all the times he'd wanted to run, all the moments he'd almost sabotaged everything out of fear, and he thought about all the times he'd chosen to stay instead. "Yeah," he said. "I think you're right. I usually am." "There's that humility I love so much," Lena grinned. "You married me. You knew what you were getting into." "Best decision I ever made." "Second best. First was asking me to that reunion. That was a terrible decision." "That was the best decision. Look where it got you." Ryan pulled her closer. "Yeah, look where it got me." Sometimes Ryan still thought about that night. The reunion, the lie, the moment that changed everything. He thought about how terrified he'd been, how convinced he was that he didn't deserve good things. And he thought about Lena walking into that ballroom like she belonged there, like she belonged with him. She'd seen something in him that night, something he couldn't see in himself, and she'd refused to let him hide from it. That was the thing about love, Ryan had learned. It wasn't about finding someone who completed you or fixed you or saved you from yourself. It was about finding someone who saw you, really saw you, and chose to stay anyway. Someone who pushed you to be better while loving you exactly as you were. Someone who showed up every single day. Lena had done that for him, and he'd tried to do the same for her. It wasn't always easy, it wasn't always smooth, but it was real. And real, Ryan had discovered, was better than perfect any day. Because perfect was a fantasy. Real was messy and complicated and full of mistakes, but it was also beautiful and worth fighting for, and more than he'd ever thought possible. He looked at Lena now, her eyes closed, her breathing steady, and felt a wave of gratitude so intense it nearly knocked him over. She'd taken a chance on him, a guy who was too scared to take chances on himself. And together, they'd built something neither of them had planned. Something real, something lasting, something worth every risk they'd taken to get here. Ryan kissed the top of her head. "I love you." "Love you too," Lena murmured, half asleep. They sat there under the stars, wrapped in blankets and each other, and Ryan thought about how far he'd come. From a man who couldn't let go of the past to a man who was finally, truly living in the present. It hadn't been easy, but nothing worthwhile ever was. And as he sat there with his wife beside him and his son asleep upstairs and his whole life spread out before him, Ryan realized something. He wasn't afraid anymore. Not of loss, not of failure, not of letting people in. Because he'd learned the most important lesson of all, you can't protect yourself from pain by refusing to feel joy. Life was going to hurt sometimes. That was inevitable. But it was also going to be beautiful, and funny, and surprising, and full of moments that made everything else worthwhile. You just had to be brave enough to show up for it. All of it. The good, the bad, the messy, the perfect. And Ryan was ready. For all of it. With Lena by his side and Eli growing up too fast and a future that was uncertain but full of possibility. He was ready to live. Really live. And that, he thought, was the greatest gift he'd ever received. The courage to try. 3 months after Lena moved in, Ryan woke up to an empty bed. He blinked in the early morning light, disoriented. The space beside him was cold. He checked his phone, 6:15 on a Saturday. Way too early for anyone to be up voluntarily. He found Lena in the kitchen, laptop open, coffee untouched beside her. She was staring at the screen with an intensity that made his stomach drop. "Hey," he said quietly. She jumped, then quickly closed the laptop. "Hey, sorry, did I wake you?" "No. What are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep." She wrapped her hands around the coffee mug but didn't drink. "Just thinking." Ryan sat down across from her. "About what?" Lena hesitated. "I got an email last night from the company in Boston, the one I turned down." Ryan's chest tightened. "Okay." "They reached out again, said they still want me. They're willing to match any counteroffer, give me more equity, better benefits." She finally looked at him. "It's a really good offer, Ryan. Are you thinking about taking it?" "I don't know, maybe. I mean, it's stupid not to at least consider it, right?" Ryan felt like the floor had dropped out from under him, but he kept his voice steady. "If it's what you want, then you should do it." "That's not what I asked." "I don't know what you want me to say." Lena's eyes flashed. "I want you to tell me what you're thinking, not what you think I want to hear, what you're actually thinking." Ryan stood up, started pacing. "I'm thinking that we've been through this already, and you chose to stay. And now 3 months later, you're reconsidering, and I don't know what that means. It means I got offered something I worked really hard for. I know that. Do you? Because it feels like you think I'm just looking for an excuse to leave. Aren't you?" The words came out harsher than he'd intended. Lena flinched. "That's not fair," she said quietly. "You're right, I'm sorry." Ryan ran his hand through his hair. I thought we were past this. I thought you were happy here." "I am happy here, but that doesn't mean I don't wonder what else is out there." She stood, crossing to him. "Ryan, I love you. I love Eli. I love the life we're building, but I'm 28 years old. I'm allowed to think about my career without it meaning I don't love you. I know. Do you? Because every time something comes up, you act like I'm 1 foot out the door. Ryan looked away. Because I keep waiting for you to realize you made a mistake. What mistake? Choosing me. Choosing this. He gestured around the kitchen. You could be running a whole department in Boston. Instead, you're here making coffee at 6 in the morning because you can't sleep. Lena grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. I didn't make a mistake, and I'm not going to wake up one day and regret choosing you, but you have to stop waiting for me to leave. Because I can't keep proving myself over and over. I'm not asking you to prove anything. Yes, you are. Every time you tell me to take the job, every time you act like what you want doesn't matter, you're testing me, and I'm tired of it. The words hit like a slap. Because she was right. Ryan had been so afraid of holding her back that he'd been pushing her away instead. I don't know how to stop, he admitted. Then figure it out. Because I can't do this if you won't meet me halfway. She grabbed her laptop and disappeared upstairs, leaving Ryan alone in the kitchen. He stood there for a long time, feeling like everything was unraveling again. So Eli found him an hour later, still sitting at the table. You and Lena fighting? Eli asked, pouring himself cereal. Something like that. What about? She got offered another job. In Boston. Eli stopped mid-pour. Is she leaving? I don't know. Did you ask her to stay? It's not that simple. Why not? Ryan sighed. Because I can't keep asking her to give things up for me. Eli sat down across from him. Dad, you know what I think? What? I think you're scared she's going to leave like Mom did. Not on purpose, but still. You think if you don't hold on too tight, it'll hurt less when she goes. Ryan stared at his 12-year-old son, wondering when he'd gotten so wise. That's pretty insightful, bud. I know, I'm smart. Eli ate a spoonful of cereal. But here's the thing, Lena's not Mom, and you can't keep treating her like she's going to disappear just because Mom did. When did you figure all this out? I've been in therapy for 2 years, Dad. I know some stuff. Eli shrugged. You should probably go to therapy too. Probably. So are you going to talk to her? Yeah, I just need to figure out what to say. Tell her the truth. That's all anyone wants. Eli finished his cereal and left. Ryan sat there thinking about everything his son had just said. He was right. Of course he was right. Ryan had spent so long protecting himself from loss that he'd forgotten how to actually be present, how to trust that good things could last. He pulled out his phone and texted Marcus. Need advice. Can you talk? The response came immediately. Always. Come over. Marcus lived in an apartment across town with his boyfriend David. When Ryan showed up, David took one look at him and disappeared into the bedroom. That bad, huh? Marcus said, handing Ryan a beer. I'm screwing everything up. What happened? Ryan explained the whole thing. The job offer, the fight, the way he kept pushing Lena away because he was too afraid to hold on. Marcus listened without interrupting. When Ryan finished, Marcus said, You know what your problem is? I have a feeling you're about to tell me. You think love is something you have to earn. Like if you're good enough, work hard enough, sacrifice enough, then you get to keep it. But that's not how it works. Then how does it work? You just show up. You be honest. You let people see you, the real you, not the version you think they want. And then you trust that they'll choose to stay. And if they don't, then at least you know you tried. But you can't spend your whole life hedging your bets, man. At some point, you just have to go all in. Ryan took a drink. What if I'm not brave enough? You asked a woman you barely knew to pretend to be your girlfriend in front of a room full of people who knew you when you were 17. You're plenty brave. Marcus leaned forward. You just have to decide if she's worth the risk. She is. Then tell her that. Not in some vague, half-assed way. Actually tell her what you want. Ryan nodded slowly. Yeah, okay. And Ryan? Yeah? Stop sabotaging yourself. You deserve to be happy. David emerged from the bedroom. Is it safe to come out? Yeah, man. Crisis averted. Marcus grinned. For now, anyway. David looked at Ryan. For what it's worth, Lena's crazy about you. Marcus won't shut up about how disgustingly in love you two are. I never said disgustingly, Marcus protested. You absolutely did last week, after they came over for dinner. Well, yeah, but I meant it affectionately. Ryan smiled despite himself. Thanks, guys. Any time, Marcus said. Now go home and fix this before you lose the best thing that's happened to you in years. Ryan drove home with his heart pounding. He found Lena in their bedroom, packing a bag. Where are you going? He asked. My mom's. Just for the weekend. I need some space to think. Don't. Lena looked up. What? Don't go. Not like this. Please. She set down the shirt she'd been folding. Ryan, I need to say something, and I need you to let me say it before you leave. Lena crossed her arms, but didn't move. Ryan took a breath. I've been an idiot. I keep pushing you away because I'm terrified of losing you. And I know that doesn't make sense. I know I'm sabotaging the thing I want most, but I don't know how to stop being afraid. So what are you saying? I'm saying I don't want you to take the job. Not because I think you shouldn't have a career, but because I love you, and I want you here, with me and Eli, building this life. He stepped closer. And if that's selfish, then I'm sorry. But I'm tired of pretending I don't care. I care. I want you to stay, not out of obligation or guilt, but because this is where you want to be. Lena's eyes were bright with tears. And if I want both, the career and the life with you, then we figure it out, together. But you have to tell me what you actually want, not what you think will make everyone else happy. Lena was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I don't want the job in Boston. You don't? No. I thought I did. I thought I was supposed to want it, but the truth is, I've been chasing these opportunities my whole life because I thought they'd make me feel like I'd made it, like I was enough. She wiped her eyes. But I already feel like that here, with you, with Eli. This is where I want to be. Ryan crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to prove that. I'm sorry I scared you. You didn't scare me. Well, maybe a little, but I'll survive. Lena laughed against his chest. We're kind of a mess, aren't we? Yeah, but we're our mess. She pulled back to look at him. I love you. I love you too. They stood there for a moment, just holding each other. Then Lena said, I should probably unpack. Probably. But neither of them moved. Ryan kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then finally her lips. When they broke apart, Lena was smiling. You know what we should do? She said. What? Get out of here. Just for the day. Go somewhere we've never been. Do something spontaneous. What about Eli? He's at Mason's until tonight. We have the whole day. Ryan hesitated. I should probably finish that report for Monday. Or you could spend the day with your girlfriend doing something fun. Lena raised an eyebrow. Come on, Ryan. When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to? He couldn't remember. Where would we even go? I don't know. That's the point. We'll just drive and see where we end up. It was reckless, irresponsible, completely unlike him. Okay, Ryan said. Let's do it. Lena's face lit up. Yeah? Yeah, let's get out of here. 1. They ended up at a small beach town 2 hours north. Ryan had never been there before, never even heard of it, but Lena had seen a sign on the highway and insisted they take the exit. The town was quiet, almost deserted. A handful of shops, a diner, a long stretch of empty beach. They parked and walked down to the water, shoes off, sand between their toes. This is nice, Lena said, breathing in the salt air. Yeah, it is. They walked in silence for a while, the waves crashing beside them. Ryan felt something loosen in his chest. The constant worry, the fear that had been his companion for so long. It was still there, but quieter now. Manageable. Can I ask you something? Lena said. Sure. What do you see when you think about the future? Like 5 years from now? What does that look like? Ryan thought about it. Honestly, I try not to think that far ahead. Why not? Because every time I've planned for the future, life had other ideas. Lena nodded. I get that. But humor me. If you could have anything, what would it be? Ryan looked out at the water. I'd want Eli to be happy, whatever that looks like for him. I'd want to still be doing work that matters, even if it's not the most exciting thing in the world. And I'd want you, still here, still putting up with my nonsense. That's it? That's everything. He looked at her. What about you? Lena was quiet for a moment. I want what we have now, but more of it. More moments like this where we just exist together without worrying about what comes next. I want to wake up next to you every morning and not take it for granted. I want to watch Eli grow up and be part of that. I want us to be a family. Like, really a family. We are a family. I know, but I want it to feel permanent, not like something that could fall apart if one of us makes the wrong move. Ryan stopped walking. Is that how it feels to you? Like it could fall apart? Sometimes. When you get that look on your face like you're bracing for impact, when you tell me to take jobs I don't want because you think that's what's best for me. She turned to face him. I don't need you to protect me from my own decisions, Ryan. I just need you to trust that I know what I want. And what do you want? You? This? Us? She took his hands. I want to build a life with you. The boring, everyday kind of life where we argue about whose turn it is to do the dishes and watch bad TV on Friday nights and take Eli to soccer practice. I want all of it. Ryan pulled her closer. I want that too. Then stop waiting for it to end. Stop acting like you don't deserve it. I'm trying. I know, and I love you for it. But you have to actually believe it, Ryan. You have to believe that this is real and it's not going anywhere. Ryan looked at her, really looked at her. At the way the wind caught her hair, the way her eyes held his without wavering. She was so sure, so certain. And maybe it was time for him to be certain too. Okay, he said. Okay? Yeah, I believe it. I believe in us. Lena smiled. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. Neither am I. They kissed there on the beach, the waves crashing around them, and Ryan felt something shift. Not fear this time. Not doubt. Just hope. Heck. They got back to town just before Eli came home. Ryan picked him up from Mason's house, and the three of them ordered pizza for dinner. Where'd you guys go today? Eli asked, grabbing his third slice. Beach town up north, Lena said. It was pretty. Did you take pictures? A few. Can I see? Lena pulled out her phone and scrolled through. There were shots of the beach, the water, a few of Ryan looking uncomfortable in front of the camera. You look weird in all of these, Eli said. Thanks, bud. I'm just being honest. Lena laughed. He does look a little stiff. See? Lena agrees. Traitor, Ryan said, but he was smiling. After dinner, Eli retreated to his room to play video games. Ryan and Lena cleaned up the kitchen together, moving around each other in that easy way they'd developed over the months. Today was good, Lena said, drying the last plate. Yeah, it was. We should do it more often. Just take off. No plans, no agenda. I'd like that. Lena set down the towel and turned to him. I've been thinking about something. Yeah? What if we made it official? Not just you and me, but all three of us. Like actually became a family. Ryan's heart started pounding. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to be here. Not as your girlfriend who happens to live here, but as someone who's actually part of this, part of your family. You are part of this family. I know, but I want Eli to know that too. I want him to know I'm not going anywhere. Ryan pulled her close. Have you talked to him about this? Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. What exactly are you proposing? Lena smiled. I don't know. Maybe we sit down with him. Tell him that this is permanent, that I'm not just passing through. He already knows that. Does he? Because I don't think he does. I think he's still waiting for me to leave, just like you were. Ryan knew she was right. Eli had been through too much loss already. Of course he'd be protecting himself. Okay, Ryan said. Let's talk to him. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Yeet. They talked to Eli the next morning over breakfast. So we wanted to talk to you about something, Ryan started. Eli looked up from his cereal, suspicious. Am I in trouble? No, nothing like that. Then what? Lena reached across the table and took Eli's hand. I just wanted you to know that I'm here for the long haul. I'm not going anywhere. This is my home now, with you and your dad. Eli blinked. Okay. That's it? Just okay? Yeah, I kind of figured. He looked between them. You guys are getting married eventually, right? Ryan nearly choked on his coffee. What? You're not that subtle, Dad. You look at her like she's the best thing that ever happened to you, which, to be fair, she probably is. Lena was trying not to laugh. Thanks, Eli. No problem. He went back to his cereal like he hadn't just dropped a bomb on the conversation. Ryan looked at Lena. She shrugged, smiling. Well, Ryan said, I guess that's settled then. Guess so, Eli said. Can I go to Jake's house after breakfast? Sure, bud. Eli finished his cereal, put his bowl in the sink, and disappeared upstairs to get ready. Ryan and Lena sat in stunned silence. Did that just happen? Lena asked. I think so. He's smarter than both of us combined. Definitely. Ryan reached for her hand. He's right, you know. About what? About you being the best thing that ever happened to me. Lena's eyes softened. You're not so bad yourself. Not so bad? That's the best you've got? Fine. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, too. Happy? Very. They sat there, hands intertwined, smiling at each other like idiots. 2 weeks later, Ryan came home from work to find Lena sitting on the couch, crying. What's wrong? He asked, panic rising in his chest. She looked up, and he realized she wasn't sad. She was laughing. I just got off the phone with my mom, she said. And? I told her about us, about how serious we are, about how I'm not moving to Boston or anywhere else because this is where I want to be. What did she say? She asked when the wedding was. Ryan sat down beside her. What did you tell her? That we haven't talked about it yet, but she seemed pretty convinced it's happening. Is she wrong? Lena looked at him. I don't know. Is she? Ryan had been thinking about this for weeks now. Months, really. Ever since Lena had moved in, ever since he'd realized that this wasn't temporary, that he didn't want it to be temporary. No, he said. She's not wrong. So what are we waiting for? I don't know. The right moment, I guess. What if this is the right moment? Ryan looked at her. At the woman who'd walked into his life as a favor and stayed because she wanted to. The woman who'd seen past his walls and his fear and loved him anyway. Marry me, he said. Lena blinked. What? Marry me. I don't have a ring. I don't have some elaborate plan, but I know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So, marry me. Lena started crying again. You're seriously proposing right now? Is that a problem? No. Yes, I don't know. She wiped her eyes. This is not how I imagined this happening. How did you imagine it? I don't know. Something more romantic? We're sitting on our couch in sweatpants. How much more romantic can you get? Lena laughed. You're impossible. Is that a yes? Of course it's a yes, you idiot. Ryan pulled her into his arms, kissing her. When they broke apart, they were both smiling. We should probably tell Eli, Lena said. He already knows. How could he possibly know? Because he called it weeks ago. That kid knows everything. They told Eli that night at dinner. He didn't even look surprised. Took you long enough, he said. You're not even going to act shocked? Ryan asked. Why would I? I told you this was going to happen. Lena shook her head, smiling. You're something else, kid. I know, Eli grinned. So when's the wedding? We haven't figured that out yet, Ryan said. Can we have cake? Obviously. Then I'm in. They spent the rest of dinner talking about what kind of wedding they wanted. Something small, they decided. Just family and close friends. Nothing fancy or elaborate. Eli had opinions about everything. The cake had to be chocolate, no boring music, and absolutely no slow dancing. You know you're not actually planning this, right? Ryan said. Yeah, but someone has to make sure you don't screw it up. Lena was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Ryan tried to look annoyed but couldn't quite manage it. This was his life now. Chaotic and loud and perfect. They got married 3 months later. Small ceremony, just like they'd planned. Courthouse wedding with their closest people. Marcus served as Ryan's best man. Lena's mom flew in from across the country. Eli stood between them, grinning. The ceremony itself was short. Simple vows, simple rings, simple promises to show up for each other every day. When the officiant said they could kiss, Eli made a gagging sound. Everyone laughed. Afterward, they went to dinner at a nice restaurant. Nothing too fancy, but nicer than their usual spots. Marcus gave a toast. To Ryan and Lena, who proved that sometimes the best things happen when you stop overthinking and just take the damn leap. Everyone raised their glasses. Ryan looked around the table. At Lena, beautiful in a simple dress. At Eli, stealing bread from Ryan's plate. At Marcus and David, at Lena's mom, at the small group of people who'd become family. He thought about how far he'd come. From the guy who couldn't let go of the past to the guy who was finally living in the present. It hadn't been easy, but nothing worth having ever was. "What are you thinking about?" Lena whispered. "How lucky I am." "Good answer." She kissed him, and Ryan felt that familiar warmth spread through his chest. This was it. This was everything. 6 months after the wedding, Lena came home with news. "I got offered the regional director position," she said. Ryan looked up from his laptop. "That's amazing. Congratulations." "Thanks." She sat down beside him. "It's going to mean longer hours, more travel, more responsibility. You can handle it." "I know, but I want to make sure we're on the same page, that this isn't going to mess up what we have." Ryan closed his laptop and took her hands. "Lena, I married you. I'm not going anywhere, and I want you to take this job and kick ass at it." "You're sure?" "I'm sure. We'll figure out the logistics. We always do." Lena smiled. "I love you." "I love you too." She kissed him, then pulled back. "So I should probably tell you the other thing." "What other thing?" "The position is based here. No moving required." Ryan laughed. "You were messing with me." "Maybe a little. I wanted to see if you'd panic." "I didn't panic." "You definitely looked like you were about to panic." "I was not." "Sure, Ryan. Whatever you say." Summit. Lena started the new position a month later. It was demanding, just like she'd said. Long hours, difficult projects, constant pressure to perform. But she loved it. And she was good at it. Ryan watched her thrive, watched her confidence grow, and felt nothing but pride. They adjusted to the new schedule. Ryan took on more of the household stuff. Eli stepped up too, helping with dinner, doing his own laundry, being more independent. It wasn't always smooth. There were nights when Lena came home exhausted and Ryan was dealing with his own work stress, and they snapped at each other over nothing. But they worked through it. They talked. They compromised. They showed up for each other even when it was hard. That, Ryan realized, was what love actually looked like. Not the easy moments, the hard ones. The choice to stay even when it would be easier to walk away. A year after they got married, Ryan came home to find Lena and Eli in the backyard, setting up a tent. "What's going on?" he asked. "We're camping," Eli said. "In the backyard?" "Lena's never been camping. Can you believe that?" Ryan looked at Lena. "Really?" "My family wasn't really the outdoorsy type," she said, struggling with a tent pole. "So we're teaching her," Eli explained. "Starting small." Ryan smiled. "Need help?" "Obviously. This thing is impossible." They spent the next hour setting up the tent, which turned out to be way more complicated than any of them expected. By the time they finished, it was getting dark. They made s'mores on the grill, not quite the same as a campfire, but close enough. Eli told ghost stories that weren't scary at all. Lena laughed at everything. Later, after Eli had gone inside to grab more marshmallows, Lena leaned against Ryan. "This is nice," she said. "Yeah, it is. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who camps in their backyard." "You're not camping, you're glamping at best." "Still counts." She looked up at him. "Thank you." "For what?" "For this. For giving me a life I didn't know I wanted." Ryan kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for showing me I could have one." Eli came back with the marshmallows, and they spent the rest of the night talking and laughing under the stars. Eventually, Eli fell asleep in the tent. Ryan and Lena stayed outside, wrapped in blankets, watching the sky. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Lena asked. "What do you mean?" "Like, if I hadn't said yes to that reunion. If you hadn't asked, where would we be now?" Ryan thought about it. "Probably exactly where we were before. Me stuck in my routine. You chasing the next big opportunity. Both of us alone." "That's depressing." "Yeah, but also kind of amazing when you think about it. How one decision can change everything." Lena was quiet for a moment. "I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you said yes." Even though I was terrible at being a fake girlfriend? You were perfect at it. That was the problem. Lena laughed. What does that even mean? It means you made it too easy to fall for you. Good. That was the plan all along. Ryan looked at her. Really? No. But it sounds better than admitting I had no idea what I was doing. They sat in comfortable silence, the night settling around them. After a while, Ryan said, I never thanked you properly. For what? For seeing me. For not giving up when I was being an idiot. For loving me even when I didn't think I deserved it. Lena turned to face him. You did deserve it. You always did. You just needed someone to show you. And you were that someone. Lucky for you, I'm stubborn. Lucky for me, Ryan agreed. They kissed there under the stars, and Ryan thought about how far they'd come. From a fake relationship to a real one. From fear to trust. From surviving to actually living. It hadn't been easy. There had been fights and doubts and moments when he'd almost ruined everything. But they'd made it. Together. And that was worth everything. So, 2 years after they got married, Ryan got a call from Vanessa. He almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of him. Hello? Ryan, it's Vanessa. I know. What do you want? I'm in town for a conference. I was hoping we could grab coffee, catch up. Ryan looked across the room at Lana, who was helping Eli with his homework. His wife, his family. I don't think that's a good idea, Ryan said. Come on, just coffee, for old time's sake. Vanessa, there are no old times. There's just the time when you left because things got hard. And I'm over it. I've been over it. I made a mistake, Ryan. I've thought about it a lot. About us. There is no us. There hasn't been for years. But I'm married, Vanessa. Happily married. To someone who doesn't run when things get complicated. Who shows up even when it's hard. Who actually loves me. There was silence on the other end. I'm happy for you, Vanessa said finally. Thanks. I hope you find that too. But you're not going to find it by looking backward. He hung up before she could respond. Lena looked over at him. Everything okay? Yeah, everything's perfect. And he meant it. Because for the first time in his life, Ryan wasn't carrying the weight of his past. He'd let it go, moved forward, and the future he was building was better than anything he could have imagined. On their 3rd anniversary, Ryan and Lena went back to the beach town where they'd spent that spontaneous day years ago. They walked along the same stretch of sand, shoes off, waves crashing beside them. Remember the last time we were here? Lena asked. Of course. You asked me what I wanted in 5 years. What did you say? I said I wanted Eli to be happy, work that mattered, and you. Still here, still putting up with me. Lena smiled. And did you get all that? Ryan looked at her, at the woman who'd changed his entire life just by saying yes to a ridiculous request. Yeah, he said, I got all that and more. Good, because you're stuck with me now. Best decision I ever made. They walked in silence for a while. Then Lena said, So what do you want for the next 5 years? Ryan thought about it. More of this. More moments where we just exist together. More watching Eli grow up. More building a life that feels real. That's it? That's everything. Lena stopped walking and turned to face him. You know what I realized? What? We did it. We built the life we wanted. Not perfect, but real. And ours. Yeah, we did. And it all started with a lie. Ryan laughed. Best lie I ever told. Best lie I ever believed. They kissed there on the beach, the same spot where they'd stood years ago, and Ryan thought about everything that had led them here. The fear he'd overcome, the risks he'd taken, the choice to let someone in. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. Because love wasn't about finding someone who completed you or fixed you or saved you from yourself. It was about finding someone who saw you, really saw you, and chose to stay anyway. Someone who showed up every single day. Lena had done that for him, and he tried to do the same for her. And together, they'd built something neither of them had planned. Something real, something lasting, something worth every risk they'd taken to get here. That was the thing about life, Ryan had learned. You couldn't control it, couldn't predict it, couldn't protect yourself from every possible hurt. All you could do was show up, be brave, take the leap, And trust that sometimes, if you were really lucky, you'd find someone willing to take that leap with you. Ryan had found that someone, and he wasn't letting go. Not now. Not ever. Because this, standing here with Lena, building a life with Eli, waking up every morning grateful for what they had, this was everything he'd ever needed. Not perfect, not easy, just real. And real, he'd discovered, was better than anything he'd ever imagined.